Challenges I face living in Japan.
There are many challenges in Japan, and this question came from someone mentioned in the comment section. He would like to know about challenges I face in Japan. But to be quite honest, I don't even know where to start. So I think I want to start maybe with a little bit an upbeat story. How my husband and myself got married in Japan. Actually, this is for me still, it still puzzles me how I got married. It's just, what? I'm married? We are going to Niigata today. It's a long weekend. Tomorrow is a holiday here in Japan, and I'm packing for 2 days only. Charlie will be in the pet hotel. I'm German and lived and worked for 10 years in Singapore. This was back in 2006. And I met my husband also in Singapore. He lived and worked there as well. And after a while we agreed that we will get married, or we wanted to get married. However, his company had other plans. They wanted him to go back to Japan. So he left in May 2006 for Japan. And what happened is we met later in June in Germany. To introduce our parents. His parents came to Germany and my parents came to Germany. And what happened is, but I could come only for 2 days because I had to work. My contract was up in mid of July 2006 or end of July, I can't really remember. And the plan was to go in August, beginning of August, to Japan with my children. And I had to figure out what kind of school and when to finish this, when is the best time to finish school here in or back in Singapore. I was able to come for 2 days to Germany, and he introduced me to his parents. In Germany, it was quite a funny story. He sent me a text message and said, "Oh, I booked a very expensive hotel. It will be all great. Your parents will love it, and my parents will love it, and you will love it as well." So when I arrived, I had a flight from Singapore to Germany, and he flew over Japan, Korea, Germany, and he provided a first class seat for his parents. Somehow this was a tradition, I don't know, but he wanted that his parents fly first class. And I had only 2 days, just the weekend, because I had to be back at work on Monday. And when I arrived in Germany, my sister picked me up, and then my father brought me to the hotel. And it was in the train station quarter of Frankfurt. And if you know Frankfurt a little bit, close to the train station there is also a red light district. And this was close to the Kaiserstraße, but the Kaiserstraße is not, at least I didn't see it as red light, but the back streets are red light district. So when we came around the corner, there was first of all some kind of drug addicts a trailer where they can get methadone or something. And then there was a strip club. I was with the flashing lights. And then there was a hotel. It was a hotel on the corner, a narrow entrance, nothing grand. It was actually in our hotel. And my father asked me, "Are you sure that we are right here?" And I don't know over which website he booked it. I have no idea, but he said it was very expensive. And we later made the joke and said, "Oh, you paid by the hour for the 3 days." Anyhow, we went to one of the best sushi restaurants in Frankfurt. I think it was at the Steinberger Hotel. And the weekend I had to fly back. time I was a very independent woman. My whole life I worked. I actually started working when I was 13 and worked for a hairdresser back in Germany, washing hair. And in Singapore I had my own business. I had my children and organized everything on my own. I had also a maid, and when I was not at home, as at work, she would look after them if they were not in school. And secondly, I had a neighbor. She also helped me. She had her own 2 little girls, and they were almost all the time together. She took them to the club down at the Garden. There was a swimming pool. She took them to the playground. They were dancing Bhangra together. Stuff like this. The daily routine was also in the afternoon they would go to the playground. I would pick them up usually at the playground, usually before 6 p.m. So I always had to be at a certain time at the playground, and if I wasn't there, she would bring them with her home, and they even ate together sometimes. Also not all the time, but sometimes. So I was very independent. Actually loved my life in Singapore. It was great. I loved it. Weekends we would go either to the driving range. I will take my kids with me and they will kick some balls. I even try to teach them golf, and then we would go to events because I was because of my work. It was a really beautiful time, and it was our world. They were born in Singapore and grew up there. The youngest one was 6 and the eldest one was 8. My children were in school at that time. I had to organize at that time for my maid to get to a new family. She moved to a British family and later moved to England. Our plan was to go beginning of August. So what happened? We met in Germany. My husband went for the Soccer World Cup to see some games with my brother and his parents. And I was back in Singapore. And once he was back in Japan, he texted me that he wants to get married on the 4th of July. What I didn't know at that time, that Japanese adore Americans and American culture so much that he thought this would be the best wedding date. Here comes the first cultural differences. I wouldn't get married on the 4th of July. Not that I don't like the Americans. No, it's actually the opposite. I really like the American culture. But for me, it was neither him or me were Americans, so why should we get married on the 4th of July? I thought this is just too much. I didn't want to say no to him, but I said, could you ask your mother to ask the fortune teller what is a prosperous day to get married? He went back to his mother and she asked the fortune teller, and they came back with the date 7th of July 2006. If you're not familiar with the culture here in Japan, 7th of July is Tanabata. I will put the video here. I made a video about Tanabata. It's a very romantic date. It's about 2 lovers living opposite the Milk Street in the sky. Yes, that's a great date. But I wouldn't be there. But at the end of the day, I mean, in Germany, you have to register the intention to get married. There is a time frame from 2 weeks or 4 weeks. I don't really know the time frame. After that time, you are allowed to get married. We both agreed at that time we want to have a civil registration. Back in May, I gave him all my certificates to get married. And we had at that time already some problems, because I went to the German embassy and asked for a certificate that I am a single woman, and they didn't want to give it to me. Basically, they didn't give me the permission for it. My sister had a problem back in Germany when she got married to an American, and they wouldn't allow her from the army first, and then later from very old law in Germany, if you get married to a different race. I do not know if they still have this law. This was in 1989 or 91, something like this, 30 years ago. I was a little bit suspicious about the clerk at the embassy. I thought, oh, you know what? I will go to the Singapore authorities and get a certificate that I was never married in Singapore. Since I lived for 9 to 10 years in Singapore, this shouldn't be a problem. They gave me this, and with this paper, my husband went back to Japan. So it was clear that I wouldn't be in Japan at that time. And for me, it was also clear that it's just the registration to get married and not the actual marriage on that day. So I agreed to it. On 7th of July, I get a text message in the morning at 5. He always would text me and say good morning to me, I love you, and telling me basically he's going to work or something. And on that day he texted me, oh, I go today and register our marriage. And I told him, oh yeah, good luck, and we talk later. Every day I would meet my boss and my colleague, and we will share a taxi to go to work. My boss was also a very good friend of mine. Actually, his wife and his daughters, they lived beside. It was a really nice time. Anyhow, I get this text message, and he said, oh, we are married. I'm holding the marriage certificate in my hands. And I was like, what do you mean, we are married? He said, we are married. Text message back. And I text him, I'm not there, how we can get married? And he said, oh, you don't need to be here. I was like, what do you mean I don't need to be there? Oh, in Japan you can register like this. I said, but at least I need to sign the papers. Oh no, you don't need to sign the papers, I can sign for you. And I was like, what? And I said, don't we need someone who witnessed the marriage, a good man or something? And he said, oh, my parents have done this, and they also only signed. It was very easy. That's how I got married. And it was a real shock to me, because in my mind I thought I will come to Japan, we will go down to the, I don't know, wherever they do it, and maybe after that we have lunch or dinner, and his parents will be there, because my parents couldn't travel. We will have a nice photograph of it. I thought that's the case, and no, it happened totally differently. It was a big surprise. Am I disappointed a little bit about it? Yeah, I have to say. But on the other hand, these were different times, and it was very hectical. I mean, beside me working and living abroad and organizing everything, I had no help. It was just not possible. So I was happy that we would get only a civil registration. But like this, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that. Oh, we are now 13 years married. Later we took a photograph. I will show it to you. So these are my boys, and of course they look different today, no? Very different. Thank you for watching. I'm now in Niigata. I hope you liked this video. It was a personal question, but it was definitely a difficult and a challenge at that time. Getting married. I have even more stories about my immigration. I see you next week. Bye bye.